गिरिवरधारी गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गिरिधारी राधे जय राधा गिरिधारी राधे जय गिरि गोवर्धन 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 जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय गौरानिताय 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 निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव. Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you very much for joining today. So we'll continue with the Mangalacharan prayers for auspiciousness. Om apavitro pavitro va sarvavastam gatopi va yasmaret pundarikaksham sa bahya abhyantaram suchihi Shri Vishnu Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jai Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatam Maham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Shri Gurum Dinataranam Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayed Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Hyabhadrani Vidhunoti Surutsatam नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Again, just to remind myself before we go ahead, what little bit we are able to utter or understand, it's only thanks to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, without whose immense contributions, his lifetime spent in Krishna consciousness, and his translations and commentaries on these great scriptures, without which we would have no access to any of this knowledge. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. So before going ahead, so we'll read the Prabhupada Leelamrita. So I think this is where we stopped. Yeah, I think this is where we stopped, if I'm correct. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Prabhupada conducted an intensive 3-day lecture campaign in Mexico City, speaking at the National University of Mexico, the Masonic Lodge, and the Theosophical Society, and appearing on a television show with some 30 million viewers. He also held initiations at the temple on 2 consecutive days. Mexico was similar to India, he said, with pious people and a tropical climate. Even when we walked early in the morning in Chapultepec Park, many people followed him back to the temple. They recognized him as a saint and wanted his benediction. Chitsukhananda. On Sunday afternoon, there were more than 500 people in the temple room. After that lecture, Srila Prabhupada went back to his room alone, and there was a big kirtan with 5 to 600 people chanting, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. They became very, very ecstatic, and it seemed like the temple walls were going to come down. I was in Srila Prabhupada's room, and he said, What is this? Kirtan? They are making so much noise. I said, They are chanting your name. And I went down to see what was going on. And all the people were waiting to come into Prabhupada's room. It was like they wanted to charge up to Prabhupada's room to be able to see him. They kept yelling his name, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. So I came up to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, they want to see you. And Srila Prabhupada said, Well, let them come. So I immediately arranged that people would come in. He had 2 doors in his room, and they were coming in through one door on the left side and leaving through the door on the right. One by one, in a line, they've just filtered through like a great parade, coming and offering different words to Srila Prabhupada. Most of the people were saying in Spanish, Your Divine Grace, Your Holiness, please bless me, give me a benediction. Everyone was praying for his benediction. And as people would come in, they would bow down. Everyone was extremely submissive. And there were many people with tears in their eyes to see the great saint, Srila Prabhupada. And they said to Srila Prabhupada, Please give me your blessings. Prabhupada asked me, What are they saying? And I said, Give me one blessing, one benediction. So he had his hand in his handbag, bead bag, and his finger outside his bead bag. He would point to them and say, Hare Krishna. And they were all very happy. We'll stop here for today, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you again, everyone. So we'll continue with the Srimad Bhagavatam, as we're saying, Canto 5, Chapter 20, verse 29 and 30, studying the structure of the universe. The devotees in the previous several weeks, they've covered this in great detail, this entire structure of the universe. So we'll go just give a summary of what they were covering. And we have seen how Shukadeva Goswami has been describing this to Parikshit Maharaj, the beautiful Bhumandala, all the other islands surrounding Jambudvipa. He described Jambudvipa in great detail, and then he is giving a summary of the other islands as well. And so as he is giving that, he is talking about the details of each of the Dvipas, that is each of the islands, the ruler, the Varshas within each of the islands, that is the divisions within the islands, the holy mountains and rivers in each, the Varnas in each society, that is the class divisions, the worshipable deity in each island, and the mantra as well of worship. And so this is just a summary. So the devotees previously have covered this in great detail as to how they progressed. Shukadeva Goswami progressed from Jambudvipa, Plakshadvipa, Shalmali Dvipa, Kushadvipa, Kraunchadvipa, Shakadvipa, and finally we come to Pushkara Dvipa. So Pushkara Dvipa. So here, so we have come to 29 and 30. We'll read this verse. Yeah. So there are 2 verses. So what we'll do is we'll read the Sanskrit twice, and same thing with the verse 30 twice. So then we can go ahead with the other things. No? एवं एव दधि मंडोदात परत पुष्कर द्वीपस्ततो द्वि गुणायम समन्तत उपकल्पित समानेन स्वादुकनेन स्वादुकेन समुद्रेण बहिर् आवृतो यस्मिन् बृहत् पुष्करं ज्वलन शिखामल कनक पत्रायुतायुतं भगवत कमलासनस्याध्यासनं परिकल्पितम्. One of the devotees want to read it.
Hare Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam.
Dandavad Pranam, Prabhu.
Evam eva dadhi mandadat paratah pushkar deepas tato digunayam samantata upakalpitah samanena sadudokena samudrena bohirabrito yasmin brihat pushkaram jalana shikhamala kanaka patrayutayutam bhagavatah kamalasana sadhyasanam parikalpitam. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wants to read the verse? Although we can go to
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam.
Dandavad Pranam, Mataji.
एवं एव दधिमण्डदात् परतः पुष्करद्वीपस्ततो द्विगुणायामः समन्तत उपकल्पितः समानेन स्वादुदकेन समुद्रेण बहिरावृत यस्मिन् बृहत् पुष्करं ज्वलनशिखामलकनकपत्रायुतायुतं भगवतः कमलासनस्याध्यासनं परिकल्पितम्.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Mataji. Thank you. We'll go to the synonyms.
Pranam,
Huh?
I am also trying.
Yeah. Please, Mataji.
एवमेव दधिमण्डोदात् परतः पुष्करद्वीपस्तत् द्विगुणायामः समन्तत उपकल्पितः समानेन साधुदकेन समुद्रेण बहिरावृतो यस्मिन् बृहत् पुष्करं जलनशिखामलकनक पत्राजुताजुतं भगवतः कमलासनासाध्यसनं परिकल्पितम्.
Thank you. We'll go to the synonyms now.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad
Hare Krishna.
Pranam.
You want to read the synonyms, Mataji? Then we can
Oh.
go to the next verse as well.
Okay, achha.
Yeah?
Okay.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Evam eva, thus, dadhi mand udat, the ocean of yogurt, paritaha, beyond, pushkara dvipaha, another island named Pushkar Dvip, tatha, then, that, Sakadvip, dvi guna ayayama, whose measurement is twice as great, samantataha, one on all sides, upakalpitaha, surrounded, samanena, equal in width, swadudhakena, possessing sweet water, samudrena, by an ocean, bahi, outside, avritaha, surrounded, yashmin, in which, brihat, very big, pushkaram, lotus flower, jwalan, shikha, like the flames of a blazing fire, amal, pure, kanak, gold, patra, leaves, ayutam, possessing 100,000,000, bhagavata, greatly powerful, kamal ashanasya, of Lord Brahma, whose sitting place is on the lotus flower, adhyasanam, sitting place, parikalpitam, considered. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. One of the devotees want to read the translation.
Yes, I can read Prabhu.
Please, Mataji.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Outside the ocean of Joghat is another island known as Puskaradip, which is 6,400,000 yojanas, 51 to 100,000 miles wide, twice as wide as the ocean of Joghat. It is surrounded by an ocean of very tasteful water as broad as its island itself. On Puskaradip, there is a great lotus flower with 100 million pure golden petals as effulgent as the flames of fire. That lotus flower is considered the sitting place of Lord Brahma, who is the most powerful living being and who is therefore sometimes called Bhagavan.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you very much. We'll go to the next verse. Yeah. Next verse, one of the devotees want to read this verse.
Yes, Prabhuji, may I try?
Please, Mataji.
तत्द्वीपमध्ये मानसोऽत्र नामैक एवार वाचिना प्राचीन वर्षयोर मर्यादाचलो अयूत योजनोच छरायायामो यत्र तु चतस्रु दिक्षु चत्वरि पुराणी लोकपालानाम् इन्द्रादीनां यत् उपरिष्टात् सूर्या रथस्य मेरुं परिभ्रमता संवत्सर आत्मकं चक्रं देवनाम अहो रात्र अभयं परिभ्रामति
Thank you.
Brahmati. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Another devotees want to read the synonyms?
কৃষ্ণ প্রভুজি
Please, Mataji. Yeah.
তদ্বীপ মধ্যে উইদিন দ্য আইল্যান্ড মানসোত্তর নামো নেমড এক ওয়ান এভ ইন্ডিড অর্বাচীন অন দ্য সাইড পরাচীন অ্যান্ড বিয়ন্ড অর আউটসাইড বর্ষয় অফ ট্র্যাক্স অ্যান্ড ল্যান্ড মরিয়াদা ইন্ডিকেটিং দ্য বাউন্ডারি অচল আ গ্রেট মাউন্টেন আয়ুত 10,000 যোজন 8 miles Uchaya Ayamaha, whose height and width yatra where two but Chottarshu in the four Dikshu directions, Chottwari four Purani cities, Lokopalanam of the directors of planetary systems, Indra Adinam headed by Indra, Yat of which Uparistat on the top, Surya Rathasya of the chariot of the sun god, Meru mountain, Paribhramataha while circumambulating, Samvatshara Atmakam consisting of one Samvatshara, Chakram wheel or orbit, Devanam of the demigods, Aho Ratrabhyam by the day and night, Paribhramati moves around. Hare
Thank
Krishna
you.
Prabhu.
Thank you very much. Translation. Any other devotee want to read the translation?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I am reading it.
Please, Prabhu.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In the middle of that island is a great mountain named Manasottara, which forms the boundary between the inner side and the outer side of the island. Its breadth and height are 10,000 yojanas, 80,000 miles. On that mountain, in the four directions, are the residential quarters of demigods such as Indra. In the chariot of the sun god, the sun travels on the top of the mountain in an orbit called the Samvatshara, encircling Mount Meru. The sun's path on the northern side is called Uttarayana, and its path on the southern side is called Dakshinayana. One side represents a day for the demigods, and the other side represents their night. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Yeah, the short purport. Anybody wants to read the purport?
May I, Prabhuji?
Please, Mataji.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The movement of the sun is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita 5.52. Yashyagnya Brahmati Samrita Kala Chakra. The sun orbits around Mount Meru for 6 months on the northern side and for 6 months on the southern. This adds up to the duration of day and night of the demigods in the upper planetary system. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much. So wonderful description by Shukadeva Goswami and translated by Srila Prabhupada. We'll just read the translation before going ahead. On the ocean, outside the ocean of yogurt is another island known as Pushkara Dvipa, which is 6,400,000 yojanas, that is 51,200,000 miles wide, twice as wide as the ocean of yogurt. It is surrounded by an ocean of very tasteful water, as broad as the island itself. On Pushkara Dvipa, there is a great lotus flower with 100 million pure golden petals as effulgent as the flames of fire. That lotus flower is considered to be the sitting place of Lord Brahma, who is the most powerful living being and therefore is sometimes called Bhagavan. And here, in the middle of that island is a great mountain named Manasottara, which forms the boundary between the inner side and the outer side of the island. Its breadth and height are 10,000 yojanas, 80,000 miles. On that mountain, in the four directions are the residential quarters of the demigods, such as Indra. In the chariot of the sun god, the sun travels on top of the mountain in an orbit known as Samvatsara, encircling Mount Meru. The sun's path on the northern side is called Uttarayana, and the sun's path on the southern side is called Dakshinayana. One side represents the day for the demigods, and the other represents their night. Hare Krishna devotees, before going ahead, I'll just utter the prayers. Guru Gauram Girisheshtam Yo Vishwambhe Sevate Madhavam Tulasi Rama Krishna Kirtim Kiramstve Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vishwamba Madhava Swami Iti Namine. Hare Krishna devotees, welcome once again for this session, morning session of Bhagavatam. So wonderfully, we have seen how Shukadeva Goswami is describing the structure of the universe. So we can see that all these great sages in the various scriptures where they have described this universe, they were not just storytellers or just trying to entertain the people. No, they were all very, very serious philosophers. When the serious philosophers are giving such information, so definitely it is not something they are just trying to entertain Chilla, because Parikshit Maharaj is not looking for entertainment. No, last 7 days of his life. So he's giving him really serious information which will actually benefit him and all the others who are listening. So that way we know that this information is not just something which is imagining and giving. No, it's all very, very factual. And so I might think, okay, it's all very factual information, very great sage, but it is not matching my sensory thing, what I am seeing around and what the scientists have discovered and what they are saying. It is not matching that. They are talking about the solar system, they got the sun and then the earth, planets, the spherical planets going around the sun, and that's the way they have described it. And they have described this solar system as just one, as in the Milky Way galaxy, and they have said talks about thousands and thousands of millions of galaxies. So how does it match up? How does it match up? And it's not matching up my logical. No, logically also I see, okay, as per my perception, as per how the day and night are appearing, as per that means the earth is going around the sun and the earth is rotating. That's why the day and night are there, and the earth is going around the sun. That's why the seasons are there. So logically I'm saying, so pratyaksha and anumana, it's not matching this. So then what? Then how do I explain it? No, in Ishopanishad, in the introduction to Ishopanishad, Srila Prabhupada says these are the different ways by which we get knowledge. No, pratyaksha, anumana, and shabda. The shabda is the most important. He says shabda, because we cannot trust our own senses, we cannot trust our own mind, we cannot trust our own intelligence. So then when an authority says it, then that is the thing. And the second thing he also says in the introduction is, we are perceiving just with our senses. No? I am talking because with my own senses, with my own mind, with my own intelligence. No? And so it may not be correct, because I'm just using my senses, and what I am seeing, I might get cheated. No? So because very nicely in the introduction he says, because my senses definitely it's imperfect. I cannot even see what's on the other side of the room, and because of that I fall into illusion, because it's imperfect, and because I fall into illusion, I make mistakes all the time. Even a simple thing, what I think it is. Otherwise, if I'm not making mistakes, then why do accidents happen on the road? No, if everybody is so perfect, if everybody's senses are so perfect, obviously that's why I'm making mistakes. And because I'm making mistakes, I want to cover up my mistakes, so I cheat. So these 4 defects I've got as a human being. So how can I say that what I am perceiving is, what I am seeing only is perfect? So then we go to the Vedic cosmology. The Vedic cosmology, the entire, so we should be, the first thing, we should not be apologetic. We should not be apologetic and say, let us try it and find the things which are matching with the modern cosmology. Modern cosmology, everything we are depending on our fallible senses, and we are constructing a huge superstructure. So, but this knowledge is perfect knowledge. So we should not be apologetic and trying to match the imperfect knowledge with the perfect knowledge. This is perfect knowledge. No? So here the entire thing is based on the theory of Sankhya. So there's one devotee by name Rishiraj Das. Rishiraj Das, or his worldly name is Ashish Dalela. No? So he very nicely he has analyze this knowledge coming from the Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures, things like Surya Siddhanta and others, and says that how this knowledge is perfect. What is coming down, what Srila Prabhupada has explained, it is perfect knowledge. It is we don't need to be apologetic or try to find matches between this knowledge and what knowledge we are getting from so-called modern science. Because he's saying the modern science have to come up to this, they have to come up to this this platform. So the theory is Sankhya. The entire this cosmology is made on based on this Sankhya theory. Sankhya itself means Sankhya, na, counting. It proper counting, and the model to explain the observations. No, I don't pretend to understand what all Risharaj Prabhu is saying, no, because he speaks at a very high level. So I'm just trying to present some few points what he is saying, which gets all this, which makes sense. No, he's talking it in such a way, he explains it in such a way that all this starts to make sense. What is described in the Bhagavatam, what is described in the other Vedic scriptures. And he says this, what the scientists they talk about is a physical space-time. Physical space-time. That is, they talk about there's a space is there, the directions are there, and time is there, and everything is happening within this space and time. The space and time is just a passive thing, and everything is happening within this space and time. So, and the cause of all the things is the objects. One object is influencing the other object. But what here he says is this Vedic cosmology is based on semantic space-time. That is meaningful. The space has a meaning, time has a meaning. Time, kala has a meaning, and space has a meaning. Everything is meaning. It is not meaningless. It's not meaninglessly one object influencing other object. It is complete. It's filled with meaning. So everything. That's why the universe is there. The scientists say the universe is just created randomly by a big bang. A big bang happened, and all this was created. But here in the Vedic cosmology, we see the universe was created with a purpose, with a meaning, with a purpose. And because it is said that matter comes from consciousness, it is not that consciousness comes from matter. Matter has emerged from. So when something has emerged from consciousness, obviously it has a lot of meaning. And so then he says this universe, what all we see, it's in a hierarchy of abstractions, inverted tree structure, as the Lord also explains in the Bhagavad Gita as well. As we move from the Sattva Guna to lower levels of Tamo Guna, the entire thing is a hierarchy of abstractions. So there, in the higher levels, we have more abstract, and as we go down to with the lower levels, we have more of details, and we go from the subtle to the gross, from the Sattva Guna to Tamo Guna, and the more abstract to more detail. He gives an example. No? That is, we have the mammal, and we have the class of mammals. And mammals, within the mammals, we have dog, cat, various other species we have. So when we are saying this, dog is a mammal, cat is a mammal, that means the concept of mammal is already there in our mind. No, it is not. Concept of the mammal didn't come from the cat. The cat has come from the mammal. So the concept, the idea of the mammal is there, and from there all these other details have come. So that's why he says it's an inverted tree structure. It goes from more abstract to more detailed. And the size of each universe is determined by the number of semantic axioms. And so that way he says our universe is the smallest of all. So he's saying as we go to the other universes there are more axioms, and more the universe is much more detailed, much more bigger. And we see that also in the Bhagavatam. One of the stories is there, no, where Brahma he visits Krishna and Dwaraka, and then it is revealed that his universe is the smallest of all. Actually, I think Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells this story. No, then he goes to visit Krishna and Dwaraka, and then he comes to realization that the other universe much more variety, much more bigger, and there are much greater Brahmas which are looking after those universes. And he says so we have different planetary systems, right? We have the upper planetary systems like Satyaloka, Maharloka, like the different planetary systems there. And then the Bhuloka, that's our planetary system. So here, roughly everything is at the same level of abstraction. And then as we go down to the other lower planetary systems, there the detail is much greater. There's much more material detail there, and much more grosser. And so here we are at some level, at a medium level of abstraction and experience. So So our power to experience material detail is limited. But as we go down to the lower planets, their power to experience material detail is much, much higher. And as we go higher, those living entities can see at a much greater, they can see a big picture, they can see the big picture. We can see some level of detail. The living entities in the lower planetary systems can experience material world to a much higher level of detail, and the people in the higher planetary systems, again, they can see at a much they can see the big picture, they can see the big picture much more clearly, but they can see at a much level higher level of abstraction. So he says this is how the Vedic cosmology is. And the samudras and dvipas, they are not just merely physical and geographical constructs. No? Then I might see why I am not seeing the samudra, why I am not seeing the dvipa. He's saying this exists in the space-time of rajas and tamas. It exists in this entire, this samudras and dvipas exists in that phase space, he's saying, phase space of these two, rajas and tamas, because it's a creation. And this Bhumandala, when you come to this Bhumandala, it is disconnected surfaces are there in the semantic phase space. So with my level of activity, what I am doing, I cannot even hope to perceive the other dvipas. So I might think, oh, I am in this Jambu Dvipa, I am in this Bharat Varsha. Why I am not able to even perceive the other Varshas in Bhumandala? Why I am not able to perceive the other dvipas surrounding this Jambu Dvipa? He's saying they are disconnected. With what level of activity I am in, with my mental thing, I cannot even perceive those other things. They are in different phase space. And and he describes all these planetary systems as analogous to a revolving lotus flower. So he's saying whatever description we have, no, he's saying here it is like this. There we have these in the other dvipas. These are the other things which are described. He's saying it's at a point in time. It's at a point in time. As the lotus flower revolves, all those things also change. Because lotus flower will be revolving in time. So as time progresses, the things continuously change in our dvipa, in all other dvipas also. So whatever even Shukadeva Goswami has described is only at a one point in time what is there he has described, but it is progressively changing. And so obviously different objects, different activities visible at different points of time as per our perceiving ability. So as per the activity what I am doing, as per my perceiving ability, I cannot even perceive what is outside. Forget other dvipas, even other varshas within Bhumandala, I cannot perceive. So only it's a living entity with a higher level of abstraction can see the bigger picture. For example, the demigods, they see perceive the creation at a much higher level of abstraction than what we can do. They can see a much bigger picture than what the ordinary human beings can see. So they can perceive the different varshas. So as it progresses to higher and higher levels of living entities, they can perceive, they can see the much bigger picture. And then he reveals that even the Lord says, no, Kalosmi, he says, I am time, which is causing all these changes. And he's saying it is not one object which is actually causing change in this universe, or one object influencing other objects. He's saying the main influencer is cyclical time. Because what the modern science says, time is actually, it is going in a straight line. It is passive. Time is passive. Everything is happening in time. Time is just a measurement. It's just one thing, and we are just measuring everything happening in time. But actually, Vedic cosmology reveals that time is the cause. Time is the cause of all the changes, and time is cyclical. So that's why we see everything repeats. Everything repeats. So that's why the yugas repeat, the manvantaras repeat, Brahma's day repeats. So everything it goes in a cycle. It is the cause of changes. And via the three modes of nature, the time influences the three modes, and the three modes influence what all is happening in this world. They influence all the manifestations and the activities of the living entities as well. And so, because our perception is limited, so I got only a partial vision of the complete reality. It is just like the elephant. He gives the example of the elephant. No, elephant is there and the blind men are there. each person is touching one part of the elephant and he's saying, oh, elephant is like a trunk. Elephant is like a big fan. He's touching the ear. No? He's touching the trunk and he's saying elephant is like a big snake. He is thinking like that. But it is a partial vision. My vision is, my senses are limited. My perceptive ability is limited. So I'm only seeing a partial vision. So how I can assume that that partial vision is the complete reality? So different levels are there, different demigods are there. They are seeing at a much higher level of reality, but even they don't see the full reality. They see only partial vision. Partial vision. They might see their vision might be much bigger than ours, but still it's partial. So that's why we have the conception of the Virata Purusha. Virata Purusha representation is there. It says the different visions from all the perspectives is combined in the Virata Purusha. But actually, even Srila Prabhupada reveals that even Virata Purusha is the imaginary form. It's not the real form. See, it is described in the Bhagavatam just so that describing all the perspectives in one place. But one single living entity cannot see all the perspectives. Well, because each living entity's perceptive ability is limited. So that's the Virata Purusha representation of the universe. And then as we progress, he's saying radically different activities, as already mentioned, different realms, Bhuloka. Then you have the other within the Bhuloka, you have the different dvipas. So radically different activities are happening in each of these phase spaces. So it's completely disconnected. And outer island is much bigger, as we have seen. No, each island is double the size of the inner island. So it's a superset. What activities we are imagining, what activities happening there, we cannot even imagine. With our meager imagination, we cannot even conceive what activities are happening in the other islands. And this already I mentioned, it's the approximation of a rotating lotus structure. So that's why objects, activities periodically appear, periodically disappear. So whatever, even if a great sage describes it, he describes it only in a point of time, but it constantly changes. That's why we see different Puranas, we might see different descriptions of the different planets, what activities and what structures are there. And this again we already seen, it is composed of the three modes of nature producing varieties over time. And time is actually controlling it. Time is actually the cause of it. Time is cyclical in nature, causing everything to vary cyclically. And so causality, the cause of what is happening in this universe, is not one object just influencing other object. It is, nothing is random. The entire premise of the so-called modern science is everything is happening random. Sometimes something we cannot explain with our current theory, we say, oh, it is happening at random. How can something happen at random? No? Everything is happening due to time. Time is influencing everything. And again, another thing we notice in the Bhagavatam, other scriptures as well, the worlds are described in terms of the natural habitats. No? The trees, the forests, the rivers, the mountains. These are what are described. No? They don't lay too much stress on the synthetic creations by living entities. No? Today, when I describe, I'll see, I'll describe the skyscrapers, this, that. But these are all very, very temporary structures. No? It's here and tomorrow it's all gone into dust. What all structures that I create using my ability. That's all very meager. But what is there as a natural thing, what is created by nature under the supervision of the Lord, that is more permanent. That's more permanent. So you'd see more, it's described in terms of natural habitats, all these planets. And again, in the verse, it's described how the sun rotates around Mount Meru directly above the Pushkara Dvipa. I may not perceive it. I might think sun is at a center, earth is going around. But no, it is described the sun is going around Mount Meru, above Pushkara, around the Pushkara Dvipa, above the Pushkara Dvipa island. And so again, of course, this is a question. We normally read that Lord Brahma, he is in Satyaloka. But here it is described that he is in Pushkara Dvipa, in that lotus flower, the abode of the Lord Brahma. And he is addressed as Bhagavan. Like even Lord Shiva is addressed as Bhagavan when the demigods go to him for help for drinking the poison during that churning of the ocean. So the Lord's dear servants, because they have the powers conferred by the Lord, they are also addressed as Bhagavan. And it is mentioned the sun Aditya Deva rotates around Mount Meru directly above Pushkara Dvipa. So even this verse Srila Prabhupada quotes, Yachakshuresha Savita Sakala Grahana Raja Samasta Suramurti Rashesha Tejaha Yasyagneya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The sun, who is the king of all planets, full of infinite effulgence, the image of the good soul, is as the eye of this world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in pursuance of whose order the sun performs his journey, mounting the wheel of time. So his orbit along the Manasutra mountain, which is 1 year, he takes to go around the world. And that is not the 1 year of our 1 year, it is actually 1 year of the demigods, 1 year of the demigods. No, sorry, 1 day of the demigods, if I'm correct. Yeah, day and night of the demigods, Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. That is 1 year of our the human beings, equivalent to 1 year in the human world. 6 months as he's traveling in the Uttarayana, and 6 months again as traveling in the Dakshinayana. But it's just 1 day and night of the demigods. And actually later in the Bhagavatam it is described, so we're just going into not into too much detail. The rotation of the sun is described. The duration of the day and night changes as the sun revolves through the different constellations along Pushkara Dvipa. So Dakshinayana is as the sun goes through this Karkata, Simha and the Dhanu constellations. The Cancer, the Leo and the Dhanu. Dhanu is I think Sagittarius, yes, that constellations. And Uttarayana as the sun goes to the Makara, Kumbha and Mithuna Rashis. As it goes through that, then the duration of the day increases. The Dakshinayana as you go, the duration of the day decreases. And when the sun is in these three constellations, Tula and Mesha, as he's going around this Pushkara Dvipa in these constellations, then the day and night is equal. And then the abodes of the 4 primary demigods also described: Indra, Yamaraja, Varuna. The demigods' residents are described on the Manasutra mountain, which is there. And the sun travels the chariot. The chariot is said to have a single wheel, and that wheel is said to be the wheel of time. Because the wheel is rotating, time is also progressing. Kala Chakra is the sun god's chariot wheel, 1 Samvatsara. And the 7 horses also described later in the Bhagavatam: Gayatri, Brihati, Ushnik, Jagati, Trishtup, Anushtup and Pankti, the horses. And his chariot yoke itself is 900 yojanas wide. And his charioteer is described Aruna Deva. Aruna Deva, one of the demigods, is his charioteer. And what is the purpose of knowing all this? The Lord reveals his opulence in the Bhagavad Gita. He says everything is resting only on me. And he compares himself to the thread in which all the things are strung. We cannot see the Lord, but everything is ultimately dependent on the Lord. And same thing he says even in the 15th chapter also. He's saying everything is, he is the cause, or he is the platform on which everything happens. Everything rests only on the Lord. And he again in the 10th chapter also he says this: just by a fraction of his opulence, this entire universe is manifested. What all we are seeing, all these great dvipas, these samudras, this was just one universe and millions of universe. Everything is just one fragment of the fragment of the Lord's opulence. And what is the result of this knowledge? He says, okay, a person might do lot and lot of research. He says, Bahunam Janmanam Yante. No? I might spend millions of lifetimes. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Man Prapadyate. He says, until the person comes to the Lord's shelter, that means his research is not completed. No, I have to go on doing research. And Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually knowledge, who has realized that all this ultimately is coming from Vasudeva, surrenders unto him. And same thing he says in the 10th chapter as well, in the Chaturshloki. Chaturshloki says that, no? 7 to 11. And again he says opulence of the world. He's saying wherever I go, I might say I'll go to the highest planet. Other devotees also have described this. Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartino Arjuna mam upetya tu kaunteya punar janman vidyate. I might say I might go to this dvipa, or the Pushkara Dvipa, or I might go to Satyaloka. But he's saying ultimately all are only places of misery because the birth and death is happening everywhere. So he's saying the only he's saying this knowledge and devotional service, they have to feed into each other. Knowledge should increase devotional service, and devotional service should increase my knowledge. Otherwise, it just remains as a theory. As he sees here as well. No? He says here, one who is factually convinced of the opulence and mystic power of Krishna engages in unalloyed devotional service of Krishna. Of this, there is no doubt, the Lord says. And then he says, and then Krishna summarizes the entire Bhagavad Gita. He says, he is the source of what all we see, the great universe around us. He is the source of all these worlds. Everything emanates only from Krishna. And the wise who know this engage in the Lord's devotional service and worship Him with all their hearts. And then he says, what do they do? The devotees of the thoughts of the Lord's Krishna as devotees dwell in Him. Their lives are fully devoted to Krishna's service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about the Lord. And what does the Lord see? Then again, as I said, it's a cycle. To those who constantly devoted to serving the Lord with love, He gives understanding. He makes the understanding much more clearer about this opulence and where everything is coming from, and by which they can ultimately come to the Lord. The most important knowledge He gives. And how does He do that? Because He is dwelling in everyone's hearts. He is dwelling in everyone. Again, here Rishiraj Prabhu, he goes over this in detail. He says how the more abstract lives within the less abstract. The most abstract is the Lord, because we cannot perceive the Lord with our senses. But while He is the most abstract, He is residing in all the living entities, even though He is the most abstract. So He is dwelling in our hearts, destroying with a shining lamp of knowledge when He chooses, and when we desire it, the darkness born of ignorance. So I just wanted to conclude there. The purpose of all this knowledge, what Shukadeva Goswami is disclosing or revealing to Parikshit Maharaj. So as we see, these are very great philosophers. They wouldn't say something just out of their own, just not some fairy tales or just some stories, what's coming from their mind. It's all only factual information. And because I am not able to perceive with my weak senses, I should not think that no, it's not matching with my what I am seeing or what I have learned, so it's not correct. So yeah, so I just wanted to conclude there. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you very much. And if anybody wants to add to it, and as I said, I don't pretend that I understand any of this. Just trying to give some brief points from what Prabhu has described there. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Explain the modern aspects of the explaining the modern aspect as well as the Shukdev Goswami's description of these islands and what it really means to us. You have very nicely explained that. And one thing that comes to my mind, as well as you have also explained, that ultimately this knowledge that we accept, that has been explained here, hasn't come out of nothing. It has come from the realized knowledge from the sages who have known, who have realized the supreme personality of Godhead, and it is free from the four defects that a common man has. So just because we cannot understand them with our senses doesn't mean that they do not exist or the knowledge is not to be accepted. In fact, these are the purest form of knowledge that has come from the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the realized soul. And Prabhupada has, if I can recollect properly, he has explained this. He has given this lecture on the Vedas on sometime in 1969 October, in the early times, 6, 7 or something, 6th October something, in Conway Hall in England and London, and where he has explained why we should accept the Vedic knowledge as compared to the materialistic knowledge, because materialistic knowledge is always full of, there are four defects we have very already mentioned. These four defects are there. So the absolute knowledge cannot be accepted when they are made from our senses by our speculation, because they always makes mistakes, and there will be mistakes always. So the absolute knowledge has to be accepted from this absolute person with the Supreme Lord Krishna, and that is revealed through his devotees who are free from defects. And when this knowledge comes to us with a clear medium of instruction, we should accept them and consider that that is the proper knowledge. And, and when we accept that, then we understand the Lord. And by knowing the Lord only, as everything has come from Him, by knowing Him only, we can understand our relationship with Him and our right responsibilities, what to do in this material life, in this human form of life, which is very valuable. And by taking advantage of that, we can purify ourselves and go back to Godhead. That is why Prabhupada has created this ISKCON. And with this facility, we should make use of these facilities, which he has provided so kind for all the living beings here in this age. And so if we take advantage of that, we can make our life perfect and also help others to make their life perfect. And in this way, human society can really progress in the real sense of the term. Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavad Pranam.
Yeah, that's what actually when Prabhu says, Rishiraj Prabhu also says, like even to progress further in scientific research also, if they accept these ideas, if they consider these ideas, they're actually, even the progress in their material scientific research also will be much greater. Easily, if they don't accept this outlook, their scientific research also will just tend to become more and more confused and narrow, and it won't really progress much. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you for the lecture. I was just listening and wondering how in all the different cultures people think that sun is going around the earth, and then the modern science switched the perception. So now every little kid knows that, sun is so that's earth going around the sun and so on. And it gives me the understanding that all the true knowledge is very simple and it's very complicated. So it's, it's not dualistic like our world. So all the same like bhakti is just pure unconditioned love and service to Krishna, right? So it's so simple, but it's so hard to bring it through our ego. Same like with the cosmic Vedic knowledge about cosmic and everything. It's so simple that when the child is born without any knowledge about modern science, they totally can see the sun going around the earth and the earth is stable and right. But then we got this science, how Srila Prabhupada said, this rascal science that just trying to bring us into some misunderstanding of things going on. And that's why it's so important to understand that our perception can be as true as simple, right? Or can be so complicated when it's polluted with wrong understanding about everything, not only about the cosmology, but about many other aspects of life. So it's so important to get back to scriptures and get back to true knowledge spoken by Krishna himself. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Mataji. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's correct. That's a good point you mentioned. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavad Pranam. Yes, all descriptions of these islands and the mountains and rivers is really beyond our imagination. But about the Lord's Virat Roop, it is imaginary, those who did not believe, right? But when he showed to Lord Arjuna can see his the universal form, right?
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. He showed the universal form, but what Prabhupada says is that universal form is it's not an eternal form. It's not an eternal form of the Lord. It was more to represent. It was a representative form just to show that everything is in Krishna. So because there are different levels of observers, he says, no. at one level of this, different observers are there. For example, the ant is observing the environment around it, right? So it's able to observe only a small portion of the environment. So, but the human being, because I got a much greater level of this, I can see the bigger picture than the ant. Ant can see only small picture. He can see a big. So I, as observer, can see a bigger picture. And so the demigods are much more superior to me. They can see a much bigger picture. And obviously, the Supreme Lord is the most supreme. He is the great. He is the supreme observer. So he is able to see the biggest picture of all. The biggest picture. He is able to see everything in time and space. So this, what the great sages they describe even in the Bhagavatam, this Virat Rupa, or the universal form, it is just to show that all the perceptions, all the observers, what they are seeing, they are showing in one form. They are showing as one form. So that's why it is more a representation of reality. It's a representation of reality, showing that how all the different partial realities they are showing in one description. So that's how it is described as. That's why when Prabhupada says it's the universal form is not an eternal form. It is a representation of reality.
Yeah, everything is in with him.
Correct.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, just one thing came in my mind while you were telling that. If I remember properly, I think Arjuna was given a special eyes for that to see it, because only God has given it, and with that facility he was able to view it. It is not that with our ordinary senses we can view it. So the Lord has provided him a different Dibbocha view that is mentioned.
So he was giving
So
as if he's a
requires
supreme
only,
observer. Yeah.
yes. Only with the Supreme's help only we can view, and with our, as you have rightly pointed out, that with our limited sense, our views are also always limited. So we should not think that whatever so-called the scientific, and that's why Prabhupada has called so many things, but I'll say the so-called scientific things, that is all based on this narrow perception of eyes and other things.
Correct.
That we
Even
have
though
to
instruments are based only on our senses, whatever instruments we are designing is based only on whatever senses only. So the instrument is also limited. Yes.
And also, Prabhu, it came to my mind also another thing before the time is there, 1 or 2 minutes. Even the earth moves around the sun and sun moves around the sun. If, I know you have scientific background. So if two relative things are there, whatever you consider the fixed, the other thing, because everything is on the motion. So when someone says the sun moves around the earth, it is also correct in the sense, because you consider the earth at the center point, because sun is rounding, because sun is not fixed and the earth is not also fixed. Both of them are in motion. So when we say the sun moves around the earth, it is not a wrong concept.
Correct.
It is not
Because
a wrong concept.
the modern cosmology also, they say the sun is actually going around the center of the Milky Way. No?
Yes.
They have it's a cosmological year, they call it. Cosmological year is when the sun completes one cycle. It takes millions and millions of years to go around once around the Milky Way. No? So, so
Yes.
they also have the concept. Yes.
So what I mean by that is all is based on the limited sense, and when we read the Bhagavatam and the Lord, that he gives a topmost view, and then because he is in the highest level and every knowledge comes from him, we should accept what he is telling, and that is the final that we should accept. That is what our spiritual masters and from the Parampara has teaches us to accept. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for your very nice class. So informative in all ways, as always. So thank you once again for your very nice class. I think there is no other person to make any comments, so the class may be concluded. Thank you once again for your very nice class. Bancha
Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripatubhyascha
कृपासिन्धुभ्यो ज्ञानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो
की जय।
Jai.
His Grace Poshak Madhav Prabhu की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
नमः।